Okay, good. We'll get started for today's session. Okay, so as usual, our week-to-week Monday session over here. We'll start off with a quick disclaimer. Okay, everything we go through over here is again for trading, for educational purposes. And of course, we'll be discussing some of the trading ideas, trading opportunities for the week. Right, so be aware that trading and investing involve risk, okay, and you definitely need to put in your proper risk management in place. Okay, good. And of course, very quick one. Today's session is kind of sponsored by Everything Trading. Okay. Later at the end of today's session, we'll also cover a little bit some of the offers that we have, some of the events that we have, in place for this month. Okay. So the outlook for today's session, okay, I think those of you who've been joining in for some time will already know this. We're gonna look into some of the things that happened last week, some of the things to look out for this week. We'll go into the technical charts to share with you the outlook and the analysis, and then we'll have a very quick Q&A to kind of wrap up the session. Okay, yeah. So with that, let's jump into the Forex Factory calendar. Let's talk a little bit about last week's event. Okay, so last week, Tuesday, RBA decided to hike rates to 3.6, but that's not a surprise because the market has already expected that. Not much of a movement from Aussie when that happened. BOC over here maintained rate at 4.5. So this is actually one of the first banks to not hike anymore, and they're kind of peak right now at 4.5, right? So this is something you want to keep an eye on because, as I mentioned, earlier this year, we're potentially opening up the possibility of a policy divergence from a fundamental point of view, right? Which means that there will be some banks still hiking, and then there will be some bank not hiking, and then there will be some banks potentially talking about cutting rates. That's what we mean by policy divergence, and those are the currencies opportunities that you want to pay very close attention to, right? Because when you take one fundamentally strong currencies and another one is a fundamentally weak currency, you put them into a pair, you're gonna get a very nice direction. Okay, so that's the one. And then of course we have our NFP on Friday. So NFP came in pretty solid. But unemployment actually increased, right? From 3.4, unemployment actually went up to 3.6. So that's actually the first sign, okay, of a potential recession. But do take note that 3.6 unemployment is still very, very low, which means that, yes, it's still an early sign, but not immediate concern, okay? So eventually, we'll probably see a recession. Okay, the question again I always say is when. It's not about whether it will or not, right? The question is when is it gonna happen. So that's last week's event. If you take a look at this week here, tomorrow on Tuesday, okay, we kind of have one important data from the US, which is the CPI year on year, okay, and that directly tracks inflation, so definitely important. Last data that came out was 6.4. This time around, they're expecting it to come down to it 6.0. So you want to track tomorrow's data because that's going to be quite impactful, right? If the data comes out is slightly higher than 6, right, but lower than 6.4, it may not necessarily mean that it's a good thing. But of course, it means that inflation is not coming down as fast as what the traders are anticipating, which opens up the possibility of what Jerome Powell has mentioned, which means we might still see maybe two hikes before it's gonna stop, and that may impact the dollar, right? That might give the dollar a little bit of a strength. Alternatively, if this comes down like very much, maybe below 6, we might see the dollar maybe weakening, right, as this news comes out, because then that means that inflation is really coming down quite fast, and current interest rate is really having a very effective impact on it, right? And that then would translate to the fact that maybe the Fed doesn't need to continue hiking so aggressively, right? So this data is definitely very, very important. And then on Thursday, right, we have the ECB coming in, so that's again important. You can see over here, basically traders are still expecting the ECB to hike. and this time around to hike it by 0.5. And that's what exactly I meant by policy divergence, right? Where you have one bank hiking, like the ECB, and then you have the Bank of Canada not hiking, okay? And that's what we basically mean by divergent, okay? So that's definitely important as well, right? Because any interest rate decision, you want to keep an eye on it and see if you can get any surprise element. I mean, if it comes out exactly as what traders expect, then that's not going to be much of a move. Right, so this week, I think the major one is tomorrow, CPI for the US, and then ECB side, you just need to check if we're going to get a surprise, but if there's no surprise, nothing much. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the technicals over here. Okay, as usual, we're going to start off with the dollar index. Okay, so what I see from a Elliott Wave point of view over here is that dollar, we are currently sitting at a crossroad. Okay, what I mean crossroad basically means neutral. Okay, we want to see how the market is going to react from here. Now we do have this 1618 extension taking from this 2 points, right? This one here, and what it means is that there is this possibility where this is an expanding flat and we can see one more pushback up, right, to complete kind of this A, B, and then C. So that's one possibility, and most of the time expanding flat completes around that 1618, and as of now we are definitely seeing a little bit of a reaction and a stall around that area, right? I mean, the market is not falling continuously from here, so that opens up the possibility of an expanding flat and we might see a little bit upside. Okay, that's my first point of view, right? So if that's the case, then we'll want to wait for some sign of a rejection up, a pullback correctively, and then we'll look for the buy on dollar. Which, if you put into the perspective of tomorrow, we're having a pretty important news for the dollar. Maybe the CPI release would give us more clue as to moving forward after tomorrow, where would the dollar likely gonna hit. Okay. The other possibility of how this can play out is that this may be the top, okay, and then if that's the case, then this is an impulse. If you can get a corrective move here instead of an impulsive upside, then we can expect one more drop to complete a ABC, right? And then what will happen is this may be your, instead of A, this may be your 3, 4 here, and then this is 5. So that completes that 5 wave up, and then that opens up an ABC before another move up. Okay, so of course right now we don't have all the information we need to kind of forecast that, so we just maintain a neutral perspective and see how the market is going to develop from here, especially after tomorrow's data. Okay, so that's the dollar. So the euro here is basically on the opposite side of things as well. Okay, inverse mirror effect. So right now we're basically at a crossroad again, you know, just the opposite direction, right? So basically this can be an ABC, and then this opens up more downside, or okay, it basically can be a double bottom, and then if this comes down correctively, we might start to see another pushback up. Okay, so euro dollar basically is the same case over here. Maintain a neutral perspective, see how the market's going to develop moving forward for the next 2 days. Okay, that's where the CPI comes in. We see how it's going to react, and then we'll make a decision from there on. Yeah. Then we have the pound dollar. Now, to me, pound dollar is one of the clearest structure right now. Okay, because if you've been monitoring, or I would say if you have been watching and following us for the past, I would say 2 weeks, which means for the past 2 sessions. Okay, we've been sharing in terms of pound dollar what's our outlook, right? And we've been talking about how we want to wait for the market to break this, and we see how it's gonna go. And we are expecting this as a 3-wave move. Now we have more information, and now it seems to have proven the fact that we can start to focus on the upside, right? So what is some of the key learning points over here that I think is important is, you know, if you look back for the past 2 or even 3 weeks, right? We've been talking about it, but we did not really aggressive jump into it, right? That's part of it. Okay, I want you to know that trading doesn't mean that every week, every day you click the buy and sell, right? Most of the work is in fact doing your analysis, doing your prep work, and then just wait for the setup that you want. Okay, and this is the very first piece that we want, right? If you look back, we've been talking about how we want to see this does a rejection from this low. We have that first piece, right? It's not a buy now, but it's probably a buy maybe nearer towards the end of this week or even early next week, because we still need the second piece, right? And the second piece over here is basically a slow corrective move, and if we can get that, it's definitely a very clear buy. Okay, and what I like about this setup over here is because of the context, right? I mean, we are basically close to the bottom. This can potentially be the first impulse push. So if we can get a corrective move, we might get a 3, 4, and 5 to complete a bigger 5. Okay, which means the upside is very significant. Okay, so based on just a rough estimation of like some key levels as of now, you can see we're looking at a buy around maybe 1.1970 to 1.1930, and we're looking at a target around 1.2620, right? So that's a good, I would say, close to 700 bips of move. Okay, and those are the trade opportunities that you definitely want to pay a little bit more attention to it, right? And pound dollar right now is really setting up quite nice, right? Given if we can get this, right? If you don't get that, then of course no trade. Okay, so pound dollar, that's that. Aussie dollar, we're basically neutral. We just want to wait out. This is a potential sell setup, but selling here is not ideal. We're basically fallen quite a bit. We're at a 50% mark. Okay, so selling is not ideal for me, and therefore I'm just waiting and see if we can get a potential reversal soon. But right now we don't have it, so nothing much on that. Okay, it's just basically wait. Okay, dollar CAD. If you've been following some of my postings, right? NFP day, we talk about potentially selling it. Those who traded it would have, some decent short trades then. Right now, from a swing trade perspective, right, from a slightly longer time frame perspective, we are still looking at downside, right? And over here is quite clear as of now from an, I would say, very, very conventional Elliott Wave perspective, right? We have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have a very nice little divergence within wave 5 here as well. Okay, we have all the fits very nicely aligned. We have a very decent reaction. So all this are like almost perfect, right? So right now what we're looking at is a ABC expectation. Okay, is wave A completed? Unlikely. Okay, I think wave A probably can still drop a little bit more. So for me, the direction to focus is quite clear. We're definitely bearish. Okay, but if you don't have any trade right now, my suggestion is wait for this to maybe come down a little bit more. Wait for an obvious pullback. Okay, then only look for that sell. Okay, you need to wait for that. So based on the projection here, you might not get it this week. Okay, but again, doesn't mean you don't look at it, because you want to follow through and see how the market develops, from day to day. So dollar CAD over here, that's the forecast. We're basically looking at sell, but I think to wait for a setup to complete wave B, it's likely only going to come to you maybe next week. Okay, so if you don't have any sell, then wait out for it. If you already have any trade, just manage it a long way. But anyway, this drop is not like the perfect drop, right? It does have that decent reaction, but it's not coming down like super fast anyway. Okay, but maybe tomorrow's CPI data release might give us more clue. Okay, so that's the one. Dollar yen has been falling very, very aggressively. Okay, and right now it has tagged at 50% from this low to this high. So right now what we're seeing on dollar yen is basically this as a WXY 3-wave move, a pullback here. This seems a little bit too fast, and this seems to be just like one wave. Okay, so right now what we are expecting over here is, give me a moment. Okay, so what we're expecting over here is that potentially we'll want to wait for a corrective pullback before we take this trade down. Okay, so if this is going to be one wave, then we expect another one, because we always look up for 1, 2, 3. Okay, we always want to wait for 3 waves, right, to complete a set. So my primary forecast over here is at least we're going to get another one and another one here. Okay, so that's my view on dollar yen. Okay, you might want to wait out for that pullback. Okay, gold right now is basically still quite strong to the upside. We're definitely maintaining a neutral point of view, right? My first primary view now is that we might get another move down, but we obviously want to see how the reaction from here, right? Right now the price is trading somewhere around that 618 pullback from here to here. If we don't get a decent V shape, okay, which means a sharp drop in the near term, right? Near term here maybe means tomorrow or Wednesday, we don't get this sharp drop here, we don't get a V, then the analysis bias will probably change a little bit, where this might get into a corrective move, and we then look for another upside to retest the top. Okay, so yeah, we need to see from here how the markets react, right? Because right now it's just basically moving. It's not the best time to be making any decision now, so we are holding a neutral point of view. Okay, S&P is coming down post NFP, and right now it's getting quite close to this previous low, which initial forecast here was that we're going to see this as a WX and then 3-wave move, something like that. Okay, so this drop kind of quickly completed that expectation, right? Okay, sorry, I think one of you have your mic on, maybe you can mute it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so over here, this one, what we're expecting over here is of course a little bit more on the downside, but since we have already dropped quite significant, right, the downside may not be very attractive right now. Okay, so I would say for S&P, maybe you want to just be slightly patient. Okay, selling now at this particular price point here, or even here, this area, is not the best, right? In fact, if let's say we get, maybe this is the first move, right? If we can get a deeper pullback, then yeah, selling here will be nicer as compared to selling here, right? You can see the room of opportunity you can get. Okay? So I think for now, general indices like S&P, you probably just want to stay away first. Okay, don't jump in too aggressively. Okay, pound yen is one of the nicer trade that I'm personally riding in as well. Okay, so what you can see over here is basically from this top, we have a V shape, and then we have a pullback towards this. So potential count right now is that we're currently in a wave tree. Okay? So if you're not in this trade here, definitely don't jump in here, but wait for a pullback. Okay, if you can get a decent corrective pullback, then you can look for another sell. And the downside is still huge, right? So you can see there's actually still a lot of downside opportunity where this can actually go all the way lower and even maybe retest at 155.35, which is this low, right? So what can happen over here is, if I were to draw it out a little bit, okay, this can potentially play out like this, right? So decent corrective, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Okay, so that can potentially play out in this way. Okay, so there's a lot of downside, so don't rush things through, just wait for that corrective pullback, then you can get your sell trade. Euro pound is another setup to focus for this week. Okay, so we can see a very nice little rejection from the top of the channel. Quite impulsive, so if you can get a corrective move, definitely a sell. Look out for 50 and 618, and the target here to look out for it is back at the bottom of this channel, which is around 8722. Okay, so we're basically riding on this move here. Okay, yeah, so euro pound, that's that. BTC, Bitcoin. Okay, so this one here, you can see it broke the previous low, but kind of form a V, right? So that's why never trade just because the market went down fast. Okay, so right now the bias, I would say a little bit neutral to bullish. The idea is we want to see if we can get a corrective pullback. If we can, then we have an impulse correction. We look for upside on Bitcoin. Okay, so this one quite clear. I mean, some of this is quite obvious, like pound dollar, definitely focus on it. Euro pound, definitely focus on it, and then Bitcoin here is quite a clear setup if you're into crypto. Okay, yeah, so those are the few things to definitely pay very close attention to it. Okay, good. So those are the things that I'm monitoring. I'm seeing some question coming in already, so I'll be answering them. Okay, first question I see first here is Emmanuel asking, we were forecasting a 5-wave move in dollar yen. Right now we see more of a WXY. Is it because price dropped impulsively and we're no longer more in the wave 5? Yeah, okay, so if we look at dollar yen, okay, initially the forecast wasn't very obvious because of this complex structure here, but what I was looking at more is a 1-2, then maybe here 1-2, 1-2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 internally, and this potentially become the third wave, okay. But because of this very strong drop post NFP, I kind of changed that a bit already. I update the entire analysis. There's no reason to forecast this as a 1-2 and an extended 3 because the recent drop is impulsive. Okay, and what we have over here, if I were to put this as a fits, right, we can see that this reaction did not tag that 1618, right? So it came close to around 123, extended a little bit above it and then rejected quite strongly. So that kind of put the idea where this can be a WXY, and therefore we can't shift the entire analysis to no longer being an extended third wave. Okay, so two things to note, right? One is this very strong drop, and of course the fit criteria, this did not extend and tag that 1618. Okay, yeah, so that's the one. One question I see over here from Jay. What do you think the effect of SVB failure have on the dollar? I don't think it's gonna be like huge, right? Because the Fed actually stepped in pretty quickly to resolve that fear. Okay, and this is part of sentiment in the market, right? Fear and greed. So the initial reaction was quite scary, where people were talking about, potentially bank collapsing and things like that, and taxpayers' money, they can't withdraw and things like that. But the Fed steps in and immediately says that, they'll bail it out, quote unquote, which means, whoever has money in those banks, are able to withdraw it. They're safe and things like that. So they calm the market. Okay. So we kind of see that initial impact, of course, right? Early the morning, but kind of subside quite a bit. Okay. So as of now, based on what it stands, we can say that on the surface, this problem has been resolved. Not much of a fear anymore. But of course, if subsequently more banks are having such issues, then yes, okay, it's gonna be quite significant. But right now, you can see it as quote unquote resolved, it's closed, right? Yeah, so that's my view on it. Okay. Another question I see over here. After a 3-wave completed, we saw an impulsive drop on CAD Yen last week. Am I correct to say the move down is potentially a 5-wave structure developing because it's still around 2618? Or do I need to wait and see how price collects? Okay, let me go over to the chart that you're talking about. Okay, CAD Yen, right? Good. Okay, so we need to update our analysis, and the count itself, again, you don't want to be too fixated to it, right? Because always fall back to, for me, right, always fall back to the core principles of impulse and correction. Now this drop is definitely impulse, okay? Because this is a very impulsive drop, this becomes a significant high, okay? So I'm gonna then, if I have previous analysis, I'll probably need to update it if this wasn't the significant high that my previous analysis have. But as of now, because we have this piece of information, this becomes definitely a significant high. Okay, and if I want to label my charts with wave count, right? If this is a significant high, this was a significant low. Okay, let me change the color a little bit. Okay, then what would happen over here is I will need to then decode what's happening within this move, right, from this low to this high. And one of the simplest way to look at it right now is 1 2 3, one set, this is a reset, and then this potentially something like that. So I have a 1 2 3, right, bigger tree move there. Okay, so if I'm gonna label it, it's gonna start off with like this. Okay, and whether I want to do it internally, I can, right? If I just want to, you know, put in a little bit more details and kind of communicate the idea a little bit more, I can do something like that. Okay, but do you need it? Obviously, if you're trading on yourself, you don't need it, right? You just need a bigger structure to just have that in mind. Now, this drop is definitely impulsive. Some traders would want to look into and say, okay, can we put in a 5-wave move, right? If you want, you can. I mean, I don't really do that often. You probably need to go down to a lower time frame to really be more specific, you know, in terms of like where that 3 is, where that 5 is, you know, probably something like this. Okay, yeah, so you know, that's how look at it. But this label here, I mean, right now may not be the most significant one, but the part is what's next here, right? I mean, if this is gonna be a V shape, then this would probably be another X. Okay, instead of 1 2 3 4 5, and then where you expect ABC and another move down, if you're gonna get a V from here, then this becomes another significant low, and we'll see this as a 1 2, and then we'll expect another 3, right? So again, the label is, I always highlight this, the label is to communicate what we are seeing. The label shouldn't dictate your trade direction or your trading. You get what I mean? Yeah. So what I mean, to put it in other words, right? You don't want to put in a 1 2 3 4 5 here and say that whatever happens here, I want to sell it. Okay, that shouldn't be the case. Okay, it should be more of the other way around, right? As you can see just now what I did. Okay, we started off looking at this is an impulse, so this is a significant top, this is a significant bottom. Then we decipher it by putting a label so that we can communicate the idea of, okay, this is what I'm saying. Okay, and then we put in a label. It's not the other way where we put in a label and then the label dictates the direction that we should be trading. Okay, it should be the other one. Okay, it should be the other way. Yeah, so I hope that clears. So definitely right now, you know, we want to see how the market is going to react from this zone. As I mentioned, if you're going to see a V, then what we can say is likely we'll see this as a bigger W, X, and another Y at the top. Okay, and that means, of course, right now it's not certain because we haven't really seen that V, right? We never know if this is the bottom or not. If this do a corrective structure, then of course this is not going to be X, this is probably going to drop, and we will need to see again, then this is not WXY anymore, right? Okay, so that's where we're doing a little bit of scenario planning now, okay, but we don't have enough information to work on. So usually this case here, we'll just put a neutral, wait and see. Okay, yeah, but if that's the primary forecast where we expect this to V-shape up and then continue going, then of course this would probably develop into a 3-wave move as well, right? Something like that. Cool. Okay, so I hope that bit of little tips help. Okay, so yeah, so you might have some questions. I'll give you some time to type it in. At the meantime, I'll do a little wrap up and share with you some of the offers that we have over here in collaboration with Everything Trading. Okay, so first up here is a deposit bonus, okay, with the broker called Zenfinix. So if you're very new to Zenfinix, they do have a support team where you can reach out to them via WhatsApp. If you're watching here directly on Zoom, okay, they will drop a link to the WhatsApp in the chat box so that you can click it directly, lead you to WhatsApp. If you're watching this live here right now on YouTube channel, you can actually go to my description box. You can find the WhatsApp link within it as well. okay, you definitely want to keep and save that WhatsApp number, okay, because anything related to some of the events, some of the promotions that they have, to RSVP and register for it, okay, it's all through those WhatsApp links, right? So first promotion and offer over here that they have is called deposit bonus, right? So basically, if you are fairly new to Zenfinix, what you can do is you can actually register and open an account with them, get your account verified, okay, and when you put in a deposit, okay, if you put in $100, you're gonna get $88 credit from them. If you put in 200, you're gonna get 96, and you put in 500, you're gonna get 140, right? So this credit bonus is where you can use it for trading, can use as margin, okay. But of course you can't immediately withdraw it, right? They have some conditions and criteria for you to eventually withdraw that credit bonus, right? So for all this information, again, you want to find out more, feel free to WhatsApp the support team directly. Okay. Another one here is the Telegram channel, right? So this is free, and it's open for all. If you're not in yet, what you do is you scan this QR code that you see. It will lead you to Telegram channel directly, and then you just click join, and then you'll be inside, right? Inside this Telegram channel, we're gonna post a chart regularly so that it can keep you updated. Sometimes I drop some kind of trading tips as well. Okay, more on technical analysis related, and then whenever we have some events, some updates, we'll post it up there as well so you can keep yourself informed. Okay, so if you're not in this Telegram channel, scan this QR code, join the channel. Okay. Another thing to note is that for March, okay, one of the physical events and class that we're gonna have, let me just type it out over here. It's gonna be on the 18th of March, 2023, which is this coming Saturday. Okay, it's gonna be at Penang. This is in Malaysia, so this is mainly, of course, for those of you who are based in Penang and Malaysia. If you're in KL, you want to travel up, by all means, okay. What we're gonna have is a full day Elliott Wave masterclass, okay, and this is gonna happen from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, so most if you're in Penang, okay, I would strongly encourage you to make time for it to attend this full day's course, because if today you want to, pick up Elliott Wave, you can do it online. Okay, I do have a course on it, but it's gonna be way pricier than this masterclass itself, because this masterclass is gonna be sponsored by Everything Trading, okay, and Zenfinix, and all you have to do is just have an account with them, have put in the deposit $100, and you'll be able to attend. Okay, and this $100 is directly to your trading account where you can use it to trade. Right. So in other words, you actually don't pay anything, but you basically just need to get yourself verified as a Everything Trading client and a Zenfinix client, and you'll be able to join this for free. Okay, so again, if you want to find out more about this event, this masterclass, you want to register an RSVP. The link to go to is the WhatsApp link, right? So click on the WhatsApp link, inquiry directly with the team, okay, and they'll set that up for you. Okay, yeah, so that's the one. Okay, two questions here I see as well, just to very quickly follow up on and answer those questions. One from Emmanuel over here. What if the corrective move on Aussie dollar tests the 1618, which is very close to it? Will you say that a potential 5 wave is developing? I would suppose you're saying this potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes and no, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if I were to hide all the labels, I'll always reassess back, if this is corrective, sorry, okay, labels are there. If this is corrective, we definitely still expect drop, right? So whether this is end of it or this is 3, it doesn't matter, because this move here suggests downside has a higher chance, right? But the part here is I still won't be looking to sell because of the context of where it is. Okay, right now if I take fibs from swing low to swing high, we're basically testing very close to that 618 retracement, right? Which is not a great area to be selling into. right? So if I were to take away all that label, that's how that analysis is going to turn out to be, okay? Because we still look at a very corrective structure here as of now. We're still looking at down, right? But I'm not going to be interested in the downside, okay? That's why we're neutral as of now, okay? Yeah, but can this eventually play out into a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? The answer is definitely yes, okay? But again, it doesn't dictate the traits, okay? It shouldn't, okay? And it shouldn't even help you determine that direction, okay? Because at the end, we're focusing more of how pattern is developing, how price is developing. That's still the foundation of it, okay? Yeah? Okay, another question I see over here is on the daily time frame, you can't see that the trend is bullish. Sorry, I might have missed that question. Which pair we are talking? Okay, you might want to type in the pair because I might have missed that question when we were talking, so I can't recall which pair you're referring to. Okay, another question from Steven. Is the directional logical for Aussie franc bearish? Wait for pullback. Let's see. Oh yes, okay. This one quite clear, right? So what we are seeing here is we need to apply a bit of context, right? So this drop is fast. So what I'm seeing is, are we near any significant low, right? Which is right now we don't have, right? Because this was the significant area, and basically it took it off, right? It took an entire thing off. Yeah. So for me, let me even go to a daily, right? Yeah. So for me, if I'm looking at this here, probably I can insert in a little bit of a channel. This even broke it. So what we can see likely here, I'll start off from a very, very high time frame perspective, right? Because I think this one here, what we can do is this would probably be the very top, okay? What I also observe is the channel is broken. So potentially what we can expect is that this can turn out into a 1, 2, 3 potentially developing, okay? Maybe, of course it's not like 100% that's gonna be the case, but because we have a very pretty strong break below this channel, okay, which opens up the possibility that it's quite impulsive, right? And that may be the way to look at it, right? So one is here, one is here is not that important because this can be expanding flat. If I can put it here, this can be a regular one, but putting here looks a bit nicer because this seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's a C, so A, B, C, right? Expanding flat. So if that's gonna be the general direction, okay, I think wave 3 probably is gonna be there, right? Okay, so you can see wave 3 is probably there. So somehow within this, you're probably gonna look at it from an angle of that's not gonna be the case. This is gonna be there. If that's gonna be wave 1, 2, this is gonna be potentially 3. This is 4, right? So everything is valid. Let me take this in, right? So you can see wave 4 doesn't come to that. This seems to be, it's a little bit difficult to decipher 5 wave down here, but general structure looks pretty solid, right? I mean, then this will be wave 5. Okay, so that's how we can start to put in, but you realize that the label doesn't dictate the direction. What was this piece here that's very fast, it broke that low. The channel initially was there, it broken that channel, so that kind of helped to determine what label to put in, right? Yeah, so in short, coming back to this is definitely impulsive. So if you can get a decent pullback correctively, definitely more downside, right? Yeah, and what you can see from here is this is pretty big, right? So potentially within this may be a running flat structure, okay? You don't really get very, very obvious hidden divergence, okay? Again, such a structure is difficult to decipher, okay? Because some traders would see this as this piece here, this is another piece. Some traders would then just see this as a running flat, and then this would be like this, okay? That's, again, I always highlight this. It's not important what you label there, because what's more important is how you're going to trade it here, right? So don't get too harp up upon like, should I put a running flat? Should I see this as a regular correction and then this is just like that? Which one's correct? To me, does it matter? It doesn't, because if this is a correction, you don't care if this is a running flat or this is a regular correction here, because it's done anyway, right? You'll be trading this, okay? So that's my point, okay, that I want to let you know, okay? Yeah, so I hope that helps. So you're right in Aussie franc, okay? So the idea here is, if you zoom in a little bit, you might need to give it a bit more time to see a very clear corrective structure, right? Because right now it's too shallow, okay? So yeah, that's my point of view. Okay. Okay, Jay asked about EuroCAD. Yeah, EuroCAD. No, EuroCAD for me, I would say you might want to be a little bit careful on EuroCAD. Okay, yes, it has broken this quite significantly, right? But it may be opening up the possibility where, that's the one that I want to show you, right? It may be opening up the possibility where we're seeing a very, very huge divergence here. And what I'm seeing is the part is this has a very, very huge move. So it opens the idea where this can be wave 3, this can be a wave 5, and we can then get a deeper pullback, right? So that's the part where you want to be cautious on buying it. And that's the conversation of context, right? The market is, where this is forming is important. Okay? It's forming after a obvious move like that. You don't want to be too aggressive in buying that up. Okay, so yeah, I hope that can give you another angle perspective as well. Okay, so EuroCAD, I'm not too keen on buying. Okay, I would rather wait and see if we can get a sell. That's the idea of it. Cool. Okay, so I hope today's session can give you an idea of what to focus, give you some insights into some of the practical aspects of Wave, on Elliott Wave. Okay, and again, for those of you who would like to find out a little bit more about everything trading, Zenfinix, those events that I talk about, reach out to the support team directly via the WhatsApp link. Okay, so those of you who are in Penang attending the event, the masterclass, right? I'll see you this coming Saturday. Okay. Do remember bring a laptop as well. Okay, because we're definitely doing quite a bit of a hands-on activity as well. Okay. So all the best to trading this week, and I'll see you guys again. Okay. Bye bye.